Walking is one of the most natural movements the human body can perform. It's the activity doctors recommend more than almost anything else. It improves cardiovascular health, supports metabolism, strengthens bones, and boosts mental well-being. But there is a question almost nobody asks. When we walk, are we walking, or are we pounding the pavement? Because those two things are not the same. And the difference may determine whether walking heals your body or slowly wears it down. Every single time your foot hits the ground, something remarkable and slightly brutal can be happening. The average person takes somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 steps per day. Multiply that by the force your body generates with each stride, depending on how we strike the ground, and you start to realize that walking is not the gentle, peaceful activity we assume it to be when not mindfully done. It is a repeated collision between your body and the earth beneath you, depending on how you contact the surface. The question is not just philosophical. It is deeply physical. Are we walking, or are we pounding the pavement? And the answer changes everything about how we understand movement, health, and the human body. Most people today walk the way modern footwear and hard surfaces have trained them to walk. They strike the ground with their heel first, creating a small impact shockwave that travels upward through the body. This happens thousands of times every day. With modern footwear, when your heel strikes the ground during a typical walking stride, your body absorbs a force equal to roughly 1 to 1.5 times your body weight. For someone weighing 150 pounds, that means every single step sends somewhere between 150 and 225 pounds of force shooting up through the heel, into the ankle, through the knee, and all the way up the spine. Now multiply that by thousands of steps per day, and then by 365 days a year, and suddenly the numbers become staggering. Over the course of a lifetime, the average person walks the equivalent of 3 to 5 times around the entire circumference of the earth. That is an almost incomprehensible amount of force being absorbed by the human body. And yet most of us walk without ever thinking about it. We assume it is safe. We assume it is natural. But the mechanics tell a more complicated story. Modern footwear has fundamentally changed the way humans walk. For the vast majority of human history, people walked barefoot or in minimal sandals. Without the cushioning of a thick rubber sole beneath the heel, landing hard on the heel was uncomfortable and even painful. So early humans naturally landed closer to the midfoot or forefoot, absorbing impact through the arch, the ankle, and the muscles of the lower leg. Then came the modern shoe. Thick, cushioned heels made heel striking not only possible but comfortable. And so we began to walk differently, striking the ground with the heel first, sending that sharp spike of force directly up through the skeletal system, rather than allowing the muscles and tendons to absorb it gradually. Research from Harvard University has shown that heel striking generates what scientists call a transient impact force, a sudden, sharp jolt that travels up the leg at a speed of roughly 210 feet per second. This is not a gentle landing. This is a collision. And when you repeat that collision thousands of times a day, the cumulative effect on joints, cartilage, and connective tissue is significant. Here is where the story becomes genuinely extraordinary. The human body did not evolve to be fragile. It evolved to move, and it developed an incredibly sophisticated system for managing the forces of movement. The arch of the foot acts like a spring, compressing under load and releasing energy with each step. The Achilles tendon, one of the strongest tendons in the body, stores and releases elastic energy like a biological rubber band. The muscles of the calf, the thigh, and the glutes work in coordinated sequences to absorb, redirect, and propel force in ways that no engineered material has ever fully replicated. Even the way fat is distributed in the heel pad, a specialized structure of tightly packed fat cells surrounded by fibrous tissue, is specifically designed to cushion impact. When you understand all of this, you begin to appreciate that the human body is not just surviving the forces of walking. In many ways, it is designed to thrive on them. Bone density increases with regular impact loading. Cartilage health depends on the compression and release of movement. Muscles grow stronger through repeated use. The body needs the stress of walking to stay healthy. The problem is not walking itself. The problem is how we walk. For most of human history, the surfaces we walked on were varied, uneven, and forgiving. Soil, grass, sand, and packed earth all have a degree of give to them. They absorb some of the impact. They force the foot to adapt constantly, engaging different muscles with every step. Modern life has replaced all of that with concrete and asphalt. Concrete is approximately 10 times harder than packed earth. It does not give. It does not absorb. Every ounce of force your foot generates comes straight back at you. Asphalt is slightly more forgiving than concrete, but only marginally. When you walk on these surfaces day after day, the cumulative stress on the joints is measurably higher than walking on natural terrain. Studies have linked prolonged walking and running on hard surfaces to increased rates of stress fractures, shin splints, plantar fasciitis, and knee osteoarthritis. The surface beneath your feet matters enormously, and most of us never think about it. Walking is not just a foot and leg activity, it is a full-body event. The way you hold your head, the position of your shoulders, the tilt of your pelvis, the engagement of your core, all of these factors influence how force travels through your body with every step. Poor posture creates imbalances in the kinetic chain, the interconnected system of bones, muscles, and joints that transfer force from the ground up through the body. When one link in that chain is weak or misaligned, other parts compensate, and over time those compensations lead to pain and injury. A forward head posture, something increasingly common in the age of smartphones, shifts the center of gravity and alters the entire gait pattern. Tight hip flexors from hours of sitting change the way the pelvis tilts, which changes the mechanics of the knee and the ankle. Everything is connected. Walking might look simple from the outside, but underneath the surface, it is a complex, coordinated performance involving hundreds of muscles firing in precise sequences. Not all walking is equal. The speed at which you walk dramatically changes the forces involved and the benefits you receive. Slow, leisurely walking generates lower impact forces, but also provides fewer cardiovascular and musculoskeletal benefits. Brisk walking, defined by researchers as walking at a pace of at least 3 miles per hour, significantly increases heart rate, engages more muscle groups, and has been shown to reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and even certain cancers. Interestingly, research published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that brisk walking was associated with a 24% lower risk of all-cause mortality compared to slow walking. The pace matters. The intention matters. Walking with purpose and speed transforms a passive activity into a genuinely powerful health intervention. The evidence for walking as one of the most powerful health tools available to humans is overwhelming. A landmark study from the University of Massachusetts found that people who walked 10,000 steps per day had significantly lower rates of metabolic syndrome, a cluster of conditions including high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and excess body fat. Walking has been shown to improve mood, reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression, enhance cognitive function, and even slow the progression of neurodegenerative diseases. The rhythmic bilateral nature of walking, left, right, activates both hemispheres of the brain in a way that few other activities do. Some neuroscientists believe this bilateral stimulation is part of why walking is so effective at reducing stress and improving creative thinking. The ancient Greeks knew this. Aristotle famously taught while walking. The Peripatetic school of philosophy was literally named after the practice of walking and thinking together. So when we ask whether we are walking or pounding the pavement, the real answer is this: we are doing both. And the difference between the two lies entirely in how consciously and intentionally we choose to move through the world. Pounding versus floating. Think about two different sounds. Pounding walking. Thud, thud, thud. Now imagine walking through a forest quietly. Soft walking. Step, glide, step, glide. One creates noise. The other creates flow. When you learn to walk softly, joints experience less compression. Posture improves, balance becomes easier. The nervous system relaxes. Your body begins moving the way it was designed to move, Now imagine a completely different kind of walking. Instead of striking the ground, the foot meets the earth softly. The foot spreads. The toes engage. The arch becomes a living spring. The body glides forward rather than crashing down. This style of movement has been used for thousands of years by indigenous trackers, martial artists, dancers, barefoot cultures around the world. They move quietly, fluidly, effortlessly, not because they are trying to be quiet, but because their bodies are aligned with how human locomotion evolved. Here's a quick experiment you can try right now. Walk across the room 2 different ways. First way. Walk the way most people do. Heel first. Let the foot drop. Notice the sound. Second way. Now walk softly. Let the middle of the foot meet the ground first, then allow the heel and toes to settle. Spread your toes slightly. Feel the arch engage. You will immediately notice something surprising. Your body feels lighter. Your steps become quieter. Your movement becomes smoother. This is the beginning of learning to walk with your feet rather than falling onto them. Walking truly is one of the best things you can do for your health. Research shows it can reduce heart disease risk, improve blood sugar regulation, enhance brain function, support lymphatic circulation, strengthen bones and joints. But how you walk matters just as much as how far you walk. When you walk softly, the feet strengthen, the arches activate, posture naturally improves, walking becomes full-body therapy. The ground is not your enemy. It's your partner in movement. When we pound the pavement, we fight gravity. When we walk softly, we cooperate with it. And that changes everything. In the Well of Wellness philosophy, we teach something simple but powerful. The same is true for walking. When you do, something amazing happens. Final thought. If you found this valuable, make sure you share it with someone who complains about knee pain, back pain, or someone who walks a lot. This is exactly the kind of information that most people never encounter until it is far too late. And if you want to go even deeper on fixing your movement patterns and protecting your joints for the long term, make sure you subscribe because that is exactly what this channel is all about.